us today. My name is Kevin Mather. I'm the president of World Trade Center Northern California, and I really appreciate everybody joining us today. We've got an excellent session, I think, and I think you're going to really enjoy hearing the stories of Nature's SunGrown Fern and Reltek today. A couple of housekeeping items. One, I'm going to suggest today the best way to see the webinar is if you go to the view button in the upper right hand corner of the screen and select side by side. That will allow you to see our speaker and the sides simultaneously. If you have dual monitor settings, or if you're viewing this in a web browser, that option won't be available. We will have a Q&A session, and so at the bottom of your screen you should see a Q&A window, and so you can type your questions in there. Daryl, who will be moderating, and I will be monitoring those, and we'll try to answer those all during the session. The recording, we are recording today, so the recording will be posted. We'll also be sharing the slides, which contain everybody's contact information as well at the end of the session. And there will also be a survey that we send out briefly. So I'd also like to take and thank our partners that have helped us today with this, and that's going to be the SBA, the Export Import Bank of the United States, the Sacramento Valley SBDC, the U.S. Commercial Service, and California's Capital. So thank you to all of them for their assistance. Our moderator this morning is going to be Daryl Dante, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Daryl.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I want to echo Kevin's comments. Thanks to our partners and sponsors, and in particular for all of the attendees joining this morning. Thanks for choosing to spend some time with us, and you won't be disappointed. We've got a great lineup for you. We're going to be covering some key programs and tools that can help you in your exporting efforts and in expanding your sales internationally. We've got some experts from an expert from SBA's Office of International Trade and from the Export-Import Bank of the United States to discuss those programs. And we're really, really excited to have some folks with us from two different businesses, as Kevin mentioned, Reltek and Nature's SunGrown Foods. And both of these groups have had a direct experience using these programs, so they're going to share their stories with us. So just a quick run through of what you can expect today. I'm going to have the panelists do some quick introductions. I'm going to cover very quickly just the role of the SBA district office. We've got a nice, short, good video for you from the Exim team. And then Sandra Donzella will cover some of the key programs that Exim offers. And my colleague at SBA's Office of International Trade, Mike Fazio, is going to talk about some of SBA's export finance programs. We'll then hear directly from Amy Hughes and Bob Lindbergh of Reltek, and Mark Schultz, who is a team of one today, going to be talking about his experience with some of these programs that were covered. As Kevin mentioned, we'll have a Q&A and try to get all of your questions answered to the best of our ability, and then do a wrap up. Also, just again, Kevin mentioned, we'll send out a survey to all our attendees. It's a brief one, and we ask for your help with that. So, all right, so let's get into this quickly. It's just my role with SBA. I am a lender relations specialist and a district international trade officer for the agency. And I work out of Sacramento's district office. Our district office covers the northern 21 inland counties, all the way up north to the Oregon border, and east to the Nevada line, and as far south as San Joaquin. SBA has 68 district offices on a nationwide basis, so that all deliver the same range of programs and services. And really, in my role as a lender relations person and a district international trade officer, I work with our lenders and partners to help business owners start a business, grow and expand a business, both domestically and internationally. Just as a note, through April 2022, the lenders in the SBA district office, through our two core programs, our 7A program and 504 lending program, have delivered a total of 413 loans for $328 million. And that's just a spectacular effort. And that includes domestic financing as well as international trade. And, in my work as both an LRS and an international trade officer, work with lenders to deliver all kinds of financing to business owners. That's inclusive of working capital, financing for expansion, the purchase of real estate and equipment, leasehold improvements, business acquisition, and of course, export financing, international trade. And that's why we're all here today. And so on that note, I'm going to ask the panelists to do some quick intros. I'm going to start with my colleague, Mike Fazio from SBA's Office of International Trade. Mike?
Great. Thank you, Daryl, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Mike Fazio. I am an export finance manager with the SBA's Office of International Trade. I'm located in the San Francisco U.S. Export Assistance Center, along with the U.S. Commercial Service, and I cover Northern California. So basically from the northern border all the way down to Bakersfield. I have roughly 20 colleagues around the country from coast to coast that do what I do. And we coordinate with our district office colleagues like Daryl to reach as many members of the small business exporter community as possible, whether it's folks like Kevin or Sandra or Bob, Amy, and Mark, the lender community, all sorts of, or every member of the export ecosystem. So I appreciate everybody being here with us today. Appreciate the opportunity to participate, and look forward to speaking with everybody as the program continues. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. And Sandra, I'll hand it over to you for a quick intro.
Thank you, Daryl, and also thank you to everyone who was involved in today's webinar and its organization, and special thanks to the representatives of the two exporting companies. We really appreciate you being here, and I think this webinar will be a lot more interesting to the audience because of your participation. As Daryl mentioned, my name is Sandra Doncella, and I am the Deputy Managing Director for the Western region of the country for the Export-Import Bank of the United States, or Exim. And I'm based in California, and I am directly responsible for coverage of all of Northern California. I've been with the agency for 20 years, and before I joined, I was a lender working directly with Exim programs. And my entire career, essentially, I've been engaged in helping exporters compete and succeed in foreign markets through utilization of export financing solutions that we're going to talk to you about here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, and I'll echo those comments. We are excited to hear from both the folks at Reltek and Nature's SunGrown. Those are the guys that are really going to give us that direct experience. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask Bob and Amy at Reltek to do a quick introduction.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. Pleasure to be here as well. And thank you for the invite. This is from Reltek. Bob Lindbergh and I, Amy Hughes, we manufacture adhesive sealants and coatings for harsh environments here in Santa Rosa, California.
All right. Yeah, Bob.
So Bob Lindbergh, I live in Santa Rosa, and I think what's important for this context is that you are aware that I've started multiple businesses, and when I was approaching 50, I was laid off in a organizational downsizing kind of a thing as a senior executive, and spent a year or so consulting and living on credit cards. And at that point, I filed bankruptcy and started a new business. So I've been the full gamut, and we have a very successful business in Reltek as a manufacturing company. So I'm looking forward to sharing our experience with the SBA programs.
All right, thank you, Bob and Amy. Yeah, we're looking forward to it as well. And last but not least, Mark Schultz from Nature's SunGrown. Mark.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. It's a pleasure to join you, and I hope to at least share with you the great experiences we've had with Exim and the programs they have to allow us to finance our inventory and receivables with our international buyers. And look forward to any questions that you have at the end of the session. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Thanks, everyone. So I believe next on our agenda, we're going to show a quick video from the folks at Exim. And as that gets loaded up, again, once that's done, Sandra, I think it'll be a great segue after that. Let you talk a bit in a bit more detail about the programs. And then we'll go to Mike. And I promise to do as little talking as possible because the folks you want to hear from are really Amy, Bob, and Mark, and Mike and Sandra. Here we go.
We were very hesitant to expand into new markets before we had Exim Bank and felt good that our receivables were insured. Now we talk about international expansion and what are the next steps, and honestly that's not on my list of risks when I'm going through and discussing international expansion.
American innovation is a great factor. A U.S. product that is innovated here in the U.S. is extremely advantageous to reach out and take it internationally, because many times you'll find that internationally your product sometimes can do better than here nationally in the U.S.
I would say that export has absolutely allowed us to increase not only our team, but really help us grow the company exponentially.
For 88 years, Exim has played a critical role in fostering economic opportunity for U.S. companies and our workers. As we move forward at this critical juncture, and as our nation and the world recovers from the pandemic, my focus will be on helping the agency seize this historic opportunity to live up to our mission of supporting American jobs by facilitating U.S. exports. Exim offers financing tools to fulfill that mission by helping U.S. businesses compete effectively as they export their American-made goods and services to the global marketplace. As we strive to build a better America, Exim will continue working to lay new foundations for greater outreach, collaborations, and partnerships in the years ahead.
All right, excellent. Sandra, thank you for that video. And, that presents a great segue for us. I'm going to ask you to talk a bit more about the programs and tools that you guys offer at Exim.
Thank you. And I believe Kevin's going to put up the PowerPoint presentation that I have. I really like that video as well. And a big shout out to my colleagues in DC, especially Jane Lemons, who I know was involved. Excellent job. I think that video really captures what Exim is about. And as you heard Exim's chair, Lewis, just say, the mission of Exim is to support jobs by facilitating U.S. exports. But if you're not familiar with us, I'd like to clarify, we are a federal agency. We're not a bank. We are America's official export credit agency. And our mission, as I just said, is to support jobs by facilitating U.S. exports of U.S.-made products and services. We need to be U.S.-made because we're here again to support jobs. But how do we accomplish the mission? There's really 3 different programs that Exim Bank offers that can help you with your export journey, depending on your circumstances and your needs. If you are facing competition from internationally and you have buyers asking for some level of flexibility on the payment terms, meaning they want credit, you can come to Exim for insurance on your foreign receivables. We offer a terrific program that can give you risk protection in the event of non-payment by your international buyers. Depending on the option you pursue, we are here to cover most of the sale, 90, 95, or 98% cover, depending again on the policy being pursued. Insurance is actually Exim's most demanded program by small businesses, and it will be the focus of my presentation today. In addition to insurance, if you happen to need working capital, if you're looking for financing to be able to perhaps sustain international growth, or maybe you receive a sizable order that puts a dent in your cash flow and you need a loan to fulfill that international contract, our solution will be the Working Capital Guarantee Program. This is the pre-export financing product of Exim Bank, designed to help small and mid-sized business that have the potential to export but need more financing to do so. And our friends at the SBA also have a similar program, plus 2 additional products that can also address the financing needs of our U.S. exporters. And Mike will be talking momentarily about their solutions. And third, if you happen to be engaged in exporting equipment, capital equipment, machinery, systems, and you have buyers in developing countries that need financing, we have a terrific solution, which is a medium or long-term insurance or long-term guarantee program. Here, Exim provides 100% risk protection on term loans made available by a network of participating lenders that allow your buyer to finance their importation of equipment from you. So these are all risk mitigation programs designed to address your financing needs or the credit needs of your customers and help you turn real export opportunities into actual sales. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier that insurance is Exim's most demanded program. And it's very popular because inevitably, most exporters will likely find that they need it, even if it's just to insure one buyer. And that's because increasingly, buyers are reluctant to pay 100% cash in advance, especially these days with the impact of the pandemic and the uncertainty, the impact as well of the Russian and Ukrainian war. So what insurance it is risk protection on your foreign receivables when you extend credit. We are here to cover non-payment due to commercial or political risk. Commercial would be buyer insolvency or bankruptcy, or situations where the buyer remains in business, but they're not paying. Likely could be due to cash flow reasons. Lack of cash flow is the top reason why Exim pays claims. Or it could be that there's a war, civil unrest, revolution, insurrection, or political event that would prevent your buyer from making payments, such as the imposition of foreign exchange restrictions. These are the type of risks that Exim Bank would cover to minimize your risk and help you win business internationally. So it can also be used as a sales tool, a powerful marketing tool, because with the risk minimized, the goal is to help you, again, offer flexibility on the terms. And it doesn't have to be on the full sales amount. It could be on a portion of that sale. So if you have a buyer saying to you, I'm willing to pay you in advance, maybe up to 50% of the sale, but on the balance, they're looking at you to meet them halfway and give them the flexibility on the terms. Maybe they want 30 or 60 days. You can ensure that exposure with Exim Bank and help that sale move forward. And the other benefit of the insurance is the ability to help you maximize your borrowing base and increase cash flow. And that's because all of our policies can be assigned to your lender. And with insurance in place, most lenders will treat these receivables as domestic. And you could borrow typically up to 90% of the value of those receivables. We have policies, next slide, please. We have a policy for just about everyone. If you're an active exporter and you have multiple buyers in foreign markets, we would offer you a multi-buyer option. We have a special product for small businesses and a standard policy for businesses that are mid-size or larger, that don't meet the SBA definition of small. If you are somewhat new to export, and maybe you have a more limited international portfolio, perhaps no more than 10 buyers to insure, then we would talk to you about the express policy, where coverage, just like all of our multi-buyer options, is 95%. And then if you just have one or perhaps a few select buyers that you're looking to insure, then or single buyer policy would likely be the more appropriate solution, where cover is 90%. We also offer lender policies for financial institutions that can help exporters, especially say you're selling on a letter of credit and you're looking for confirmation. You can insure that LC with Exim, or you can go to your bank for confirmation. And we also offer insurance that enables banks to get risk protection on foreign loans they're making to international buyers on a short-term basis. Next slide, please. And in terms of the process, it's fairly simple and straightforward. You do not need to have a firm contract or firm sale to apply to Exim, but you need to have a buyer already identified that is asking for credit terms. So then you come to Exim for insurance. If we approve your buyer, now you have the confidence to be able to move forward and agree to offer the terms that they need, or whatever repayment terms you both end up negotiating. Once the product is ready to go and you make the shipment, you invoice the buyer, and then you would have 30 days. So by the end of the following month after the shipment takes place, you report to Exim the value of the shipment and pay the premium. That's a nice feature because we're not asking you to pay the premium in advance. We only have a $500 minimum advance premium. You pay here as you go on exactly what you're selling, shipping versus a projected amount. And once the due date comes and goes, hopefully the buyer pays, but if they don't, you file a claim to Exim and we pay. So that concludes my presentation. Overall, we hope to be a part of your export journey of this solution when buyers want credit or if you need financing. And I encourage you to call me if you have additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And I can truly say that those are some very powerful tools that you guys offer for business owners. In a few minutes, we'll hear from Mark Schultz at Nature's SunGrown, who had direct experience in utilizing the credit insurance products. But right now, I'm going to turn to my colleague, Mr. Mike Fazio at SBA's Office of International Trade. He's our Regional Export Finance Manager. We'll talk about some of SBA's export finance programs. Mike.
All right. Thank you. Thanks again, Daryl. It's tough to follow a well-produced video. It's even tougher to follow Sandra live, and I'm going to do my best here representing SBA and the Office of International Trade. So SBA is also a federal agency, just like XM is, and we're independent. We are not a lender. So what we do is we work with the banks and non-bank lenders out there in the export finance community and provide loan guarantees. So big important part about working with SBA is having an established relationship with a bank or a non-bank lender that works with businesses like yours. So I can help you do that if you need to establish a relationship, or if you have an existing relationship with a bank or a non-bank lender, I can work with you and them to utilize our programs if they don't already have them. I'm a former lender myself, so a lot of what I do in working with the small business exporter community is be a bit of a translator sometimes when it comes to you talking to your lender about what you're trying to accomplish. So feel free to reach out to me directly if you want to go over anything specifically, but also during today's event, if you feel like there's something that would benefit the general audience, feel free to ask a question later on in the Q&A section. So as far as our export finance programs, it's part of our overall loan guarantee portfolio that we offer small businesses. Today, we're going to focus mostly on working capital. So I'm just going to highlight two specific programs. One of them is Export Express, which is utilized for export development, and the other is the export working capital to fulfill export orders. So next slide, please, Kevin. Let's first talk about Export Express. And this one, we say it's capital for export development just because it really covers all the bases on a small scale when it comes to financing small business exports. And the small scale is still somewhat reasonable. It's $500,000. And we see many businesses are able to benefit using this program up to that $500,000 limit. And then they're able to graduate, so to speak, into one of our other bigger programs. So the other thing about this program is it's the most flexible that we have. So you can see here, we talk about export development first. So you're a small business exporter, you want to participate in trade shows, you may not have the working capital to do that yourself, or you're looking to enter a new market and you need to have some translation services done, or you need to have your website set up for that new market. Export Express can be used for soft costs like that. And the other reason it's very flexible is it's what's called a delegated program in our portfolio, where the lenders are able to meet with you directly, able to do all the paperwork, application directly with you, and then close and fund the loan directly with you. They've already proven to SBA that they're able to handle things on their own. So it can get done faster in a matter of days or weeks, depending on your relationship with the lender, versus many weeks if it had to go through a second check of underwriting with the SBA. So it's small but flexible. Aside from using it for soft costs, it can also be used to purchase fixed assets on a smaller scale. So that would be if you need to purchase additional equipment to support your export sales, or if you need to buy a new facility or do an expansion to an existing facility. Fixed assets like equipment and real estate can be financed with the Export Express program. Getting more into what we're here to talk about today is financing export orders and freeing up cash, you being able to leverage your working capital as much as possible. So again, on the smaller scale, up to that $500,000 limit, Export Express can be used to buy inventory. It can be used for working capital to pay your staff, or even to offer credit terms if you're facing competition for your foreign buyers. And then really important is issuing standby letters of credit. So you may have a great relationship with a foreign buyer, and you've been getting cash in advance, and boom, they're going to ask you for a bigger order, but they want a little bit of certainty that you're going to be able to deliver on that. Well, that's where you could use Export Express for issuing a standby letter of credit to satisfy that need of that foreign buyer. So that's the first program that I wanted to talk about today in a little more detail, Export Express. You're going to hear more details about that later from Amy and Bob, because they've actually used the program with their lender. So if you please go to the next slide, Kevin. I also wanted to talk about one of our programs that's on a larger scale when it comes to working capital, and it's properly titled the Export Working Capital Program, Ewcp. And this program is set up specifically to fulfill export orders. And it's also a much larger program. SBA has an overall maximum loan limit of $5 million. So whether it's one loan you have with SBA or multiple loans that you have with SBA, your limit's $5 million. In this case, we've had small business exporters use that full $5 million capacity to finance foreign purchase orders. And in others, they've used it in combination with other SBA programs, including Export Express. So we've had exporters that'll use Export Express up to $500,000. They'll need more capacity, so they'll move into the Ewcp program and use it up to that $5 million. But then later on, which we consider a success, is they've grown so well and been able to establish themselves with their lender, where they don't need SBA anymore, and they've drawn down from 5 million to 3 million, and then down to 1 million, and then eventually not using the program at all. And again, we consider that a success because we're helping small businesses, and when you turn into a big business, that's great. We like to see you move on your way, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to help some other small businesses. So what you can use Ewcp for up to that $5 million is to finance export orders, and that covers inventory, materials, labor, production costs, foreign AR, offering sales terms. Typically, lenders conventionally, they don't want to consider foreign AR as collateral, but with this program, they can. And then similar to Export Express, but on a bigger scale, it can also be used to issue standby letters of credit. And we do this by providing up to a 90% guarantee to the lender. So that helps them to mitigate their risk when providing you with a loan or a line of credit. If unfortunately things go poorly, then what SBA would do is review the situation and then reimburse the lender for up to 90% of the outstanding loan amount if there ends up being a problem. But let's hope that is not the case. Yeah, so looking forward to talking about these two programs or any SBA programs in more detail with everybody here on a one-to-one basis. You're welcome to reach out to me directly. We're going to have our contact information included at the end of the presentation along with the Q&A session. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mike. And again, some great flexible programs. Mike and I will work directly with you as a business owner and with your lender, or help introduce you to lenders to get these things in place. Of course, Mike does all the heavy lifting, and thank goodness for that. Right. So, all right, next, I'd like to ask Bob and Amy of Reltek to share a bit of their experience with us. And they've worked, actually, they've utilized the Export Express finance program. And so it's a great opportunity to hear from you guys and how that helped you out in your exporting efforts. So I'll turn it over to both of you.
All right, Bob. Oh, your mute's on, Bob. Bob, your mute's on.
Yeah, Bob, if you could unmute yourselves, please. There you go.
Okay,
Perfect.
here we go.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. So you have a question for me, Daryl?
Well, I was going to ask you to just start off and elaborate a bit on Reltek's story and how you utilized Export Express in your efforts to, expand your sales internationally, and let you talk about that experience a bit here.
So it's how we became aware of it, how we got involved in the whole program, loan programs. So about 15 years ago, I met Daniel Giovanni from the Department of Commerce. Well, we were attending a local export trade meeting. And our strong networking with Daniel resulted in him knowing our business. Years later, he introduced us to Joe Coleman, who was CEO and founder of Sino Resource, a 500 million a year global company headquartered in China. And that led to a major program for Reltek to create a new division of Sino Resource as an exclusive nationwide distributor of Reltek products in China. And of course, that led to a need for increased working capital. But through Daniel, we learned of participating banks in the SBA export loan program. And we chose GBC International Bank as one of the top SBA lenders for our capital loans. Amy, over to you.
Yeah, I can share a little bit more about that as well. So continuing our experience. So the program, the Export Express program, helped us specifically around the world, around the area of financing. With utilizing the Export Express program, we obtained a loan to support our expansion into China specifically, which included expenses to cover expenses from on-site visits to China, which were very vital at the time, to increasing our inventory. Around the same time, sales opportunities were opening up for us in India and Canada, while major customers in Mexico began to increase usage around the time too. So all of the load we were carrying was actually increasing, if you will, all our requirements to meet what the demands would be. So the capital we obtained enabled us to keep up with the growth opportunities, specifically for international travel, increasing inventory, and equipment purchases. So let's see, I believe, Kevin, if we have a chart still available to share, if that is.
I believe it's being shown right now.
That's okay, no problem. What I can share with you in regards to the results, though, is that from the program support, we had our direct exports and sales growth more than double over the last 4 years. So it was about 10% of international exports rose to 35% international exports. And we can attribute that with the support because of the help and support of our finances from the program, through that program.
Excellent, thanks, Amy. That's a significant impact on sales, from gaining access to that capital. And Bob indicated a bit about how you guys became aware of the Export Express program. Can you tell us a bit about the process of getting that in place and, how you worked with the SBA and with your lender?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, Bob, actually, I apologize if I wasn't heard. Bob, maybe some of that was covered in the first section there.
A bit, and yeah, Bob did. He talked about the intro, and I think it'd be interesting for our viewers to hear just a bit about the process of getting the export loan in place. What did you have to do in terms of getting documentation and the like together? And how did that coordinate with SBA and your lender at GBC?
Right, so what I'd like to do then is let Amy handle that. Before that, though, I'd like to share with everybody some of the critical aspects and challenges to stepping into the SBA programs. And the single biggest challenge that we find is capitalization. For capitalization, the major banks typically want substantial collateral as a small business that isn't often available. So a benefit we found working with the SBA Export Loan Program was the 90% guarantee up to $5 million that instead of typically around 75%, that really helped the bank become way more willing to take a risk with us. And it was a challenge, and it is a challenge, to find an SBA qualified bank that is a suitable lender for your type of business. Because the bank must understand the business strategy and why funding is needed in your particular phase of the business growth. So we got pretty deeply involved in a relationship with the bank and helping them understand that. And it's especially important when the business is in a more entrepreneurial phase of growth. The bank has to understand how your business can grow through you investing capital in new opportunities and be willing to take more risk with you out of that storyline. So the storyline is really important. And very important also is a bank that will stay with you as a partner in your growth as your needs are expanding. And that's demonstrated by Reltek is currently on its 4th round of SBA export loans with our partner bank GBC. So Amy, maybe you can answer that other question.
Yeah, so to tie into the other question there as well, as part of the challenges and what was required, what we went through for the requirement, and also for suggestions for those who are seeking and interested in this program. These are some of the documentation and the process we went through, and also what we said. So we had to be able to demonstrate how we were going to pay for the loan. And again, this is also for suggestions, people interested. Very important for us to demonstrate how we pay for the loan. So that was, regardless of our backstory, regardless of our history and anything like that, you had to have proof for the bank. Make sure it's very clear cut. So this would be tied in with credibility as well. Show your business's credibility from all angles. That means take a picture of your finances in a literal sense, give them spreadsheets, give them a full picture of what this would be, prove that you can actually systematically pay the loan. Okay, that's the most important thing. Along with credibility, we have found that utilizing all aspects, they will specifically give you what they want, of course, and you want to fulfill upon that, but be ready to expand outside of that realm if necessary, and if you might think it might help with that loan process. And it could be your financial track over a longer period of time. It could be certain aspects of your financial track and financial picture. It could be things like community outreach that your company has done, anything of big achievements that would be to back your credibility as well, awards, acknowledgements, things around that nature as well. Along with that is we would definitely recommend, and part of this too, Bob has highly recommended and say this, because it's keep up on your SBA loan requirements. The SBA loan requirements, if you know ahead of time what you're getting into, if you can do a little research, let's see, I think it was a Business Journal, Bob, if I recall, was a magazine that he referred to as one of the resources out there to keep up to date. What do they require? So you know what to pull as you begin your documentation process. The more you can prepare, the smoother and quicker the application can go in that regard. So that is what we tried to do, getting ourselves prepared.
Excellent, Amy and Bob. That's helpful and great points. And that is something in terms of preparing. Mike and I can also work with business owners and with their lenders. If a business doesn't have a particular lender doing export financing, we can connect you there. So great, really appreciate those pointers. And I'd like to shift gears now and ask Mark up to the hot seat at Nature's SunGrown Foods. And Mark, I know you've had some direct experience with Exim Bank's credit insurance products. Can you talk to us a bit about that and tell us some of the reasons that triggered a need for you to pursue the insurance and how that process worked?
Well, thank you, Daryl. I think I can echo what you saw in Sandra's presentation and give you perhaps some real life examples. Real quick, in the short time that we have, Nature's SunGrown Foods, where we export products that are manufactured and processed here in the USA and have done so for over 21 years. We're members of the U.S. Meat Export Federation. We're a certified organic trader and members of the Organic Trade Association. So as a trading company, we bring to manufacturers of the value of really essentially three buckets or three areas. The third one leads into the Exim credit insurance. So the first bucket is shipping. If a manufacturer wants to export their products, they have to contend with the shipment of their products to foreign customers, foreign destinations, of which that's a core competency of ours. And second is documentation. To export products, a company has to create the documents in order for the buyer to import that product, which can be rather arduous. And then third, and perhaps the single number one most important, is foreign receivables. So Nature's SunGrown Foods assumes that risk. And our bank relationship, of which similar to Reltek is GBC, International Bank, their provision was that we could only use a letter of credit. Was the only instrument that GBC would allow us to draw down the funds from our line of credit until we met Exim and we were able to insure the receivables. You see, as Sandra's slides showed, payment terms can be the key to landing a sale with foreign buyers, not always price. And in our case, as our business grew, customers wanted to stop using letter of credit because they can be expensive, and also wanted to have some terms. So we offer as much as 30-day terms. Well, our bank wasn't comfortable with that foreign receivable until it was insured by the export credit insurance, and Exim provided that solution. A couple of other reasons why Exim provides nice solutions for manufacturers is that we not only can you grow your sales, but it mitigates the risk from non-payment. That's critical when you're offering up receivables to a foreign buyer. And of course, the bank financing, which is the biggest bucket, biggest need that Exim solution can provide.
Thank you, Mark. Can you tell us a bit more about the process of getting the insurance in place? As an example, did you have to obtain any credit information on your international buyers?
Yeah, great question. So GBC introduced us to a company called Provident Traders, who shepherded us through the process. And we had to request credit reports from the foreign buyers or from agencies that Provident Insurance Traders, helped us to locate. With that information, we were able to provide all of the required data, and it was in a very user-friendly XM website where we uploaded all the information, and then eventually became individual buyers were approved for the insurance. The two other areas that make XM a better product for us is that they only charge $500 in annual premiums, and some private insurance costs as much as $20,000 a year. We pay $500 a year, plus we pay a fee monthly based on the volume that we are exporting. And then I'd be remiss not to mention, of course, that Exim is an organization that's backed by the full faith of the U.S. government, and no need to worry about an insurance company perhaps going into insolvency, such as years ago AIC. I'm sure you will recall.
Absolutely, and those are some great points about the competitive nature of the pricing. It certainly helps you in terms of being able to afford putting these things in place. So you secured financing on your export sales. Can you talk about the advance rate you were able to borrow against the insured foreign accounts receivables?
I don't have my CFO on the call, so I actually cannot speak to it, but I know it is very competitive.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Appreciate that. So, and we're getting close to the top of the hour, Mark. I just wanted to, I guess I'll throw this out to both teams, to Mark and to Amy and Bob. And Amy, you touched on this a little bit, but suggestions for folks who want to use the SBA finance programs or the Exim credit insurance products in terms of being prepared and getting ready to use those. Any tips and pointers you can offer our attendees to make that easier?
Let's see. Well, I can tie in, as I was mentioning before there, I can definitely say networking was another area. So the networking that you guys provide has been exponential in that, because you all work together, obviously, to make this happen. So networking is very vital in that, and never taking your foot off the gas once you get the application going. As for the loan documentation process itself and some of the very specifics, Bob went through that in more detail than I did. So Bob, was there anything that you wanted to add to that we went through?
Yeah, the documentation process is exhausting. So just be prepared for that, and that it will take 3 times longer than you plan. That's how the reality comes out.
No, and that is exactly what we want folks to hear. There's a picture presented and there's the reality on the ground, right? The map's not always the territory. And that is an excellent point. I think a key is to be as ready as possible, whether that's lender ready or being, going to deal with the folks at Exim. Get your ducks in a row, have the financial documentation in place, know exactly what it is you want. And if you don't, that's where Sandra and Mike and I can help you guys focus in. And the more prepped you are in the beginning, the smoother the process will go. But, there's going to be some hurdles and we'll help you overcome them. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the other point is don't take the foot off the gas pedal. You gotta stay in the game. You gotta be making calls. You gotta be sending emails, asking questions, and keep the process in motion because it can get buried very easily. So really strongly recommend that.
Great point. Thanks, Bob. Sandra and Mike, I'm just going to toss it over to you guys for any quick comments because we are approaching the top of the hour. Quick closing comments, and then I'll look at the chat one more time, and then we will begin to close things out.
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to reiterate that everyone is welcome to reach out to me directly. Do we have a slide showing all of our contact information, or should I put that in the chat?
And I think we're going to put that up here in just a few minutes. And so we'll get the contact information out there to everyone. Sandra, any thoughts before we begin to close this out?
Well, thank everyone for your participation today. And like Mike said, I also would encourage anyone who's interested in learning more about Exim to please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And in terms of the process when it comes to Exim insurance, I'd like to also clarify that the process is a little easier than when you're applying for a loan, because insurance is not really a loan, right? It's risk protection on your foreign receivables. And what we would need to approve the buyer, in my view, it's rather minimal. If you have a sale of up to, say, $100,000, we just really need one key piece of information. We're going to need either a credit report on your customer or trade reference. More than that, up to $500,000, we're going to need both items. And it's only when you're asking us to insure exposure that exceeds $500,000 when we look for the buyer's financial statements. And as Mark mentioned, we also have a team of export credit insurance brokers. He worked with Provident Traders. We have a network of brokers nationwide whose role is to help all customers kind of handhold their consistent with the application process, amendments, and overall management of the policy. So we try to make it easy. Now, if you're applying for a loan, I'll reinforce what Daryl, Michael, Bob said. You do need to have a good relationship with your lender, and the lender is going to look for a track record of revenue producing history and the ability to service the loan. From our perspective, if your lender is comfortable, we're comfortable. And we work with a network of lenders as well that participate in our programs. So thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And there was a question in the chat, and you just covered some of that in terms of documentation needed. And, for SBA loans, typically what our lenders are looking at is it's going to be an application that you'll fill out. And as Bob said, it's a government-backed finance program. There's documentation involved. There is an application. Your lender is going to ask you for typically 3 years financials, to support what you're looking for. If you're a newer business, we'll ask you typically for some projections over the next 2 years of how you think that business is going to grow. One key component of any SBA finance program, whether domestic or international, is any 20% owner of the business will be asked to personally guarantee that business, and that is part of what we ask for in terms of documentation. Also, a personal financial statements for the key owners of the business. So that's not an exhaustive list of documents, but certainly if you have more questions on that, you can reach out to Mike and I directly. And as we get closer to the top of the hour, I want to do a few things. Number one, thank all of the attendees today. You chose to spend some time with us. We're grateful for that. Hopefully this was information that will help you along this journey. Thanks to our panelists, Mike and Sandra, greatly appreciated. And in particular to Bob and Amy and to Mark. You can hear from the government folks all day long, but there's nothing like hearing from people that have really used these programs, experienced it down in the trenches, and we greatly appreciate that perspective. So I think a key takeaway is that you guys as business owners or attendees today, you're not alone. You have a team of people that can help you, myself and my colleague Mike at SBA's Office of International Trade, Sandra and her team at Exim, Kevin and the fantastic team at Northern Cal World Trade Center. Reach out to any one of us. It doesn't matter what stage you're in or what you may be looking for. We'll get you to the right people and we'll help you along this way. We're here to help make this as painless as possible. And so please do keep that in mind. Kevin, I don't know if you are able to flash up the contact slide. Here you go. And this is perfect. So you'll see my contact information. Anyone on board today, feel free to reach out to me either via email or phone, and you see Mike's info as well. As I said, I reserve all the tough questions for Mike. So we're gonna make him do some of the legwork there. And you see Sandra's contact information at Exim. And again, this is what truly is beneficial about a session like this is you see the availability of resources out there and how to utilize those. So thank you again to everyone who participated. Remember, we're going to send you a quick survey, and we want to wish everybody best of luck in your exporting efforts, and have a great afternoon.